Tenants First is a housing cooperative based in Aberdeen, covering an area from Arbroath 50 miles to the south, to Fraserburgh 40 miles to the north, and 35 miles westwards to Ballater on Deeside. With more than 1,200 houses, apartments and sheltered accommodation for the elderly in 16 different towns, we are the largest fully mutual housing cooperative in Britain. Being fully mutual means that we're controlled by our members, our tenants. The word innovative appears in our vision statement, and as an example of that, we have a unique tenant management structure. Of course, there is a main management committee, but we have 6 tenant management boards covering different geographical areas. We're a big business with assets of more than 20 million and an annual turnover of more than 3 million. In our experience, getting tenants involved in running their own communities has contributed significantly to the success of those communities. Now we're taking innovation a step further in a new development at Ballater on Royal Deeside. In the last few years, there have been a number of government reports and other initiatives on the state of the construction industry in Britain. The most significant was the 1998 Rethinking Construction report by Sir John Egan. It was fairly critical, highlighting the low level of investment in training and in research and development compared with other industries. Houses are being built today using the same basic techniques that were being used by bricklayers and carpenters 2 or 3 generations ago. The industry must become more efficient by a program of continuous improvement in processes and technologies. An important point from Egan was that the main initial improvements were likely to come with the involvement of the social housing sector, from groups like housing cooperatives, groups like Tenants First. Our development at Ballater is our first response to the challenges of the Egan report. The main developer at Ballater is Scotia Homes, who are building 50 houses on the site. But as part of their planning gain, 5 houses will be for social housing, and these are being built by Tenants First. Ballater is a desirable living area within commuting distance of Aberdeen, and house prices are high, making it difficult for many local people to afford housing. It's the kind of area where innovative thinking in terms of construction is very important. At Tenants First, we have been looking at house building in other countries, especially Europe, and it's become obvious that some other countries, especially the Netherlands, do it better. The house construction industry there is geared to efficient volume production, and especially to off-site construction. This is the factory of Sterk Bouw in Best in the Netherlands, where they have been making house wall panels for 20 years. Wall panels are built on a platform. First a layer of bricks, which will be the exterior of the wall. Then a layer of mortar, then insulation, and finally a layer of concrete. All of the services, electrical and plumbing for example, are built in, and the window and door frames are then fitted to the completed panel. The advantages over conventional construction are clear. There are no delays because of the weather. The brickwork drying out time is reduced, and there is less moisture in the house when the new tenant moves in. There is less wastage of materials, fire resistance is built in, and bricklayers and others don't have to work on ladders and scaffolding, so it's safer. The walls can be made using semi-skilled labour, but because quality control is much easier and the process uses advanced technology, the finished product is a better quality than even skilled labour can produce. The house roofs are made in this other factory in Oosterwijk, by the Obstellan Company. Again, the construction is very straightforward. The roofs are manufactured in panels, each panel comprising one side of the roof, and then the two sides are hinged together like a pair of book covers. The panels have a high level of insulation built into them. The final section, the first floor, is made up of precast concrete panels, which are made in a factory in Scotland. Once the individual sections of our houses were finished, they were transported by road to the building site. Our first house arrived in Ballater in early May. Foundations and services were already on site, and construction couldn't be simpler. First floor panels were then lifted into place, forming a lid which helped to stabilise the walls. The gable walls were then added, being propped temporarily off the first floor. Before the roof was then lifted over the walls, the panels pulled open and bolted to the walls. That was the basic house up in a matter of a couple of days. Now, some other advantages of the system become clear. The whole structure is held up by the outside walls. There are no internal load-bearing walls, so the interior is completely adaptable, with the ground floor being designed for wheelchair use. There are no internal roof trusses, so there's extra usable space there. These are lifetime houses, houses that can be changed as families change, as children come and go, and as other circumstances change. And they're quality houses, well insulated, draft-free, low maintenance, and built to last 100 years. Our houses at Ballater, if built by the Dutch, would have been ready to be lived in just 6 weeks, compared to the 3 months needed for traditional building methods. Perhaps not surprisingly, they took longer because of the learning curve involved for the Scottish building company who put them up. Why are they more expensive? We're using unfamiliar technology, which has cost implications, and of course we're bringing them from Holland. We're convinced that in the longer term, as we get used to the techniques that our continental neighbours have been using for years, and as perhaps a construction factory is built in the UK, the houses will become cheaper. Tenants First, with the support of Community Scotland, decided to go ahead with the Ballater houses, in spite of the cost penalty, simply because we're convinced that this is the way forward for house building in the UK. Not for every house, of course, but for building adaptable, affordable houses, houses that people need. The houses that we have built happen to be semi-detached, but of course they could just as easily have been detached houses or apartments. Using the building techniques tried and tested at Ballater, we plan to develop house styles that will fit in with our traditional architecture. A major problem in providing affordable rural housing is that it's very expensive to build small numbers of houses in country areas. But with prefabricated building, we can get economies of scale by buying the houses in bulk and then erecting them in required numbers in different villages. And don't let the word prefabricated conjure up images of the building in the 1950s and 60s. These houses are state-of-the-art construction. At Tenants First, we're constantly looking at new ways of developing our business and adding value for our members and the communities we serve. The Ballater development is just one more example of our commitment to continuing improvement and innovation. We believe we're ahead of the field, and the experience gained at Ballater is going to help keep us there.